This segment is sponsored by RVA Wealth Management. With 2021 having arrived, so many of us have questions about what the year will bring financially. We're joined today by founder and wealth manager with RVA Wealth Management, David Koren. He joins us today. David, it's wonderful to see you.
Good morning. Wonderful to see you.
This is the time of year, and I would imagine there are some incredibly focused points of the year, but certainly the new year is one of those where we begin to examine those finances and look ahead and wonder really what to do. The new year is a new time. What should we be considering in the new year as we look ahead in 2021?
Well, first of all, I'm glad 2020 is behind us. I think probably everybody would say that. But one of the most important financial resolutions that I would advise everyone to make, if they haven't already done so, is to complete a real financial inventory. And what I mean by a financial inventory is to understand what your personal net worth is, your assets minus your liabilities, as well as your cash flow. The cash flow report is an extremely important report to have a handle on. It's knowing what is coming in and what is going out. This sounds pretty simple, I know, and many people don't do this, which is surprising to me how many people fail to do this. And as a result, if you don't do this, then you don't really know how much you can afford to save, or if you may be headed for some sort of financial meltdown due to the fact that you're spending beyond your means. So knowing these two things is probably the most important financial resolution you can make: your net worth and your cash flow.
Isn't that incredible? Great insight, because you're right. How do you make a plan if you don't know what you're working with? And so taking the time to do that, even though it's so simple, as you said, is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
Failing to do that, you would say, would be a mistake. But what are some of the other mistakes that folks are making or have a tendency to make?
Well, probably the largest, biggest mistake that I see sort of ties back to the financial resolution that I just mentioned. Because the number one financial mistake individuals tend to make is to spend beyond their means and thereby find themselves forced to take on discretionary debt, usually in the form of higher credit card balances that they really can't afford. And if that happens, buying things like furniture, clothes, or going on vacation using a credit card that they're not able to then pay off easily, that can result in very high interest rate payments that will really eat away at your financial future. So not all debt is bad. Don't get me wrong. Buying a house or a business, for example, on credit can pay off big time in the long run. However, these types of credit card debts or high interest rate debts for things that are really discretionary in nature is your enemy, and you should avoid it at all costs. That's probably the number one issue people run into and the number one mistake people make.
That is understandable. And going back to that first bit of fantastic advice of taking stock of where things are gives you that perspective. It's on paper or on a screen or at least in front of you, so you know what you're working with.
Absolutely.
You mentioned, of course, David, so much change in 2020, 2021 ushers in a new chapter politically. What are some of the things that we should keep in perspective in this year to come, and how might that politics impact financial wealth?
Well, I'm surprised that both Georgia Senate seat went Democratic, but they did. So now we have a Democratic-controlled House, Senate, and presidency. With that comes the threat of potentially higher tax rates in the future. However, we are still in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. We have an economic recession with high unemployment going on. So we think that it is very doubtful that we will see higher tax rates implemented anytime soon, as that could be devastating to the recovery that's in process. So I think they'll wait on anything of that nature. So anything draconian in terms of tax rate changes, I think they'll be put on hold. And instead, what we're going to see is the plus side, which is we expect additional stimulus to happen very quickly, as that was something that was promised in the Georgia runoff election by President-elect Biden. We also expect to see an infrastructure spending bill measure passed relatively quickly. And all of that's going to really be beneficial to the economy. And the market has really responded very favorably to this potential. because they really expect this financial stimulus to pick up. However, given all of that spending, once the economy does recover, we really expect inflation to become an issue rather quickly. So we are in the process of reallocating our portfolios to focus on sectors that we think will benefit from this new environment, like financials and industrials, for instance. Commodities as a possibility as an inflation hedge, even cryptocurrency as an inflation hedge. So these are things that we think will do well, and we will reduce allocation to other sectors that we believe are going to be challenged in this new environment. So those are some of the measures we're taking. So again, a lot of times politics have an impact on the markets, and this is certainly the case now. But long term, it's really about the economy and our economic cycles, and politics plays less of a role there.
That's what they say. It's about the economy, and it's about working with a professional and being ready for what's to come. David, thank you for sharing your insights.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
It's our pleasure, and we'll share information so folks know how to connect with you.
To get in touch with RVA Wealth Management, visit their website, rvawealthmanagement.com. Or you can call them at 804-497-2100.